Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our new show, The Underdog, with nobody else than Robert Ris.
Thank you, Arno. Wonderful introduction.
Yeah, I gave it my all, so I'm very happy to have you with
Appreciate it.
us. What we're looking at is some underdog upsets, some players who are lower rated than the other part, and I would say around 300 to even 600 or more points. And we want to check out, why did they lose? Why did they win? What happened there? Where was the blunder? All of those things. It's going to be interesting, so stay tuned with this. Robert, please, what is happening? What is the first game? What we're looking at?
Yeah, I have selected actually three games, or better said, two fragments of games and one game. We are going to look at it in its entirety. And the first example I would like to have a look with at you, Arne, is a game from the Chinese Championship, the so-called B group. I don't know how the system exactly works in China, but let's have a look at the position you see in front of you now. White is Zichen, 1921 rated.
That's
against,
like me.
Yeah, very normal player. Although ratings in China are probably different than in Western world. Let's put it like that. Against somebody who is more than 500 rating points higher rated. So the following position is from a Sicilian, and Black in the current position decided to take a pawn, and therefore is a pawn up, offers the exchange of queens straight away, and if that would happen, okay, everything looks fantastic for Black.
Definitely, yes.
But these Chinese youngsters, I suppose it's a Chinese youngster, they are very tricky. And I would like to show you what this Black player, who's 500 points higher rated, overlooked. White played knight f5. I think that's a nice move. You avoid the immediate exchange of queens, and the main threat is to give a check on e7. That would be a knight fork.
That is true, yes. But there's also always a little bit of a concern about the back rank mate for white too, right?
Well, that's exactly going to be one of the main issues in this game. So let's see how that evolves. Black decided to trade off that bishop for the knight. In general, of course, a good strategy to avoid the to aim for simplifications and just avoid any annoying business with that knight on f5. So simplifying should be good. And here, rook takes f5.
Brave.
So white keeps some pressure here, attacks the queen, and also is eyeing the pawn on f7, which is actually 3 times attacked by the two rooks and the queen.
Can I point out how nice your colors look, like all the colors and arrows?
Yeah, I'm experimenting a bit myself also with ChessBase 17, so it's cool how it works.
Very nice. Okay, yeah. This is a little bit of threat, but then again, of course, Black has some counter threats. I mean, I'm looking at the queen taking on b2 might be something to. Yeah, this is the question, right? And
this is the big moment, actually. Like, what should Black do? Should he aim for counterattack or try to defend passively? And that's actually what he should have done in hindsight. I will show you the best line, but it's actually quite difficult. Black should have played here queen e6.
Yes, this is the only move I also just saw, if you're talking about defense.
It's about defense, just protecting the pawn on f7.
Yeah.
But probably Black feared here the move rook g5, threatening the bishop on g3. And now the big question is, where is the bishop going? Well, you don't want to lose the bishop. So let's say if you move the bishop away back to b8, what do you think? What is White going to play here? Look for tactics. Forget about this rook on a7.
Oh, okay.
Look for a way to generate new threats.
So yes. Oh, there's, for you at home, of course, please stop the video too to take a look yourself. Also, of course, in the article, as you know already from all our other shows, it's in the ChessBase news section. So you just click on the link below the video, and then you can check out the games with the analysis of Robert in its full bloom. So there are some tactics, of course. I mean, still looking at g7 seems to be a bit
Exactly.
shaky if the bishop goes to d4. Now the question is
Fantastic.
if this is if this is enough, because of course f6 cannot happen since the rook is still on a7, and that'll be immediate checkmate. Now,
Right?
like in 2 more moves. So how to defend this else then with g6, but then the queen goes to h6, and that's all she wrote, I would almost say. Because
Exactly, because once again, the only move is to play f6, but that will lead to mate on g7 once again.
That is beautiful. Yeah, that's tricky. And
yeah, wonderful. So, that actually means that
the bishop has to
instead
go
of
to
bishop
c7.
b8, yeah, sorry, yeah,
The bishop has to go to c7.
the bishop has to go to c7, indeed.
Yeah.
Just to close the 7th rank. It's like a prophylactical defensive move. And if white were to do the same now, let's say bishop d4, then f6 is actually a possibility because white is no longer able to take on g7.
Yeah, that's working. Nice. But that's such a weird spot for the bishop to go to c7, right? Yeah.
Exactly, and it's more natural to find the tempo hitting the enemy's rook. So, well, this didn't happen. Difficult line, and instead, black was thinking like you, Arne. He saw this back rank issues white is dealing with at the moment. So black took the pawn on b2.
Mm-hmm.
And here we see that the king is in trouble, cannot really leave the back rank. But there's rook takes f7.
Yeah. So this is exactly the thing, and it's going to be. This is such an interesting game. My goodness. So of course the bishop can always defend this little last tempo with g1 if there's any check.
Exactly.
And I think black might not be quick enough to follow up on this. Yeah. So
yeah, probably not. So let's say if you go queen b1, you have to block with the bishop.
Sure, yeah. And that cannot happen
And if you would play bishop f2, threatening mate, the mate cannot be defended. But the problem is that the g7 square is no longer defended
super easy.
by the queen. So it's not that simple for black to go for the attack and keep the pawn on g7 defended at the same time.
Okay.
But we understand better now what black's idea is, because in the game, black played here the move bishop e5. So the bishop has been brought back into defense, defending the pawn on g7.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, white doesn't have an immediate threat, frankly. If you take on f8 with the idea to come in with the queen to f7 next, black just recaptures with the rook, and there's no good follow-up. So instead, white played here queen f5.
Oh.
Just keeping that rook defended.
Okay, so if black takes the rook, the queen can take, the king goes to h8, but then I still don't...
You can probably take here. Yeah, then it's still interesting position. Probably something like king h8, and now rook e7.
Oh,
threatening mate.
That's a killer move, actually.
Probably it's still holdable, but actually now it's actually white who is also generating some threats himself.
That's a strong one. Yeah, of course.
But look what happened in the game, because black, instead of capturing on f7, played queen b1 check.
Mm-hmm.
And after bishop g1, only move, there followed bishop d4. And this has been black's idea of bringing the bishop back from g3 to e5. First of all, protecting the pawn on g7, but now the bishop covers also both diagonals. So it's threatening mate on g1 as well.
Funny. Defending checkmate and threatening checkmate.
Exactly. So it's a very human way of thinking, like a multifunctional move. But he overlooked that white can take on f8. Rook takes f8. Only move.
Oh. Queen gives a check on d5.
And now it's a check on d5. And bishop is lost, and black resigned.
Yeah, not
So
only
that's
that, there's another mate threat, and yeah, that's to resign.
the
Absolutely.
game will not last much longer, indeed.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's
I thought this was quite a hilarious game with some nice little tactical ideas, which were better calculated by someone 500 rating points lower.
this is so crazy. I mean, yeah, this is what happens. It happens every month, so we will never run out of material. This is the nice part. There's always like a couple of games who are going into this because we are, after all humans, and this is the nice
Exactly.
part about it. And it can just happen. You can. I was often scared to play against far stronger opponents until and only until one made a big blunder and I could win a game against a 200 or 300 point stronger opponent. I thought like, this is actually, they're also just making mistakes every now and then, less often than me maybe, but still they do. And then I had some good results against stronger opponents.
It starts with having some faith in yourself, yeah. Just
Yeah.
to know that you're capable of beating these guys.
I have to quickly
having these kind of examples, it should probably motivate all the viewers. Also, you have some confidence, getting some upsets yourself.
Absolutely. What was your biggest upset yourself? Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, one game which sticks to mind is one game I won against David Navarra, top grandmaster.
2700 grandmaster, even.
Exactly, and well, it was a very memorable game for me. I remember I had a conversation with another very strong player a long time before. I had played him twice actually, and the first time I asked one strong grandmaster for advice. And he told me, well, just hope that he has a very bad day. On that particular occasion, it didn't come out. But the next time, I was more fortunate. And that's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
You're not going to win all the games against these top players, but this can be your moment of fame.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great advice. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it is such a great advice. Just hope that they have a bad, because everybody can have some bad day forever for whatever reason, and it can affect you. Yes, that is something. Let's take a look at the next game. I'm curious now.
Yes, sure. Let's do that. So this one is from the Romanian Championship, which was taking place last week. It's the first round game. Always these first round pairings in open tournaments.
Yes.
They are fun. True. And normally you see 1-0, 0-1, and it goes on for 20 games in a row.
Exactly, and then you see this one outlier.
yeah, exactly. Who's the guy? Yeah. Well, this is a game between Tamas Nagy, 2056, against strong grandmaster Sabo. And, well, up till move 32, we have the current position. It's pretty much balanced. It's a sharp, well, it's relatively quiet, but it's a position with an imbalance of black having the bishop pair, but white is having the open file. But the question is, how is white able to make use of it? Well, white played here the move rook c7.
Pinning the knight, nice.
Looks like a nice move, pinning the knight. And black thought to have a nice tactical solution here, which he probably had been calculating in advance. Black decided to take on f3.
Okay.
G takes f3. And now play here, remarkable move, knight to e5.
Oh, I see.
What's the idea, and does it work actually?
Yeah, for you at home, always stop the video if you want to think for yourself. Take the chance, because this is training. This is something for you, which we picked out, which Robert picked out, and it's good advice to always, if you have a chance, if you're watching this, to play along with the moves. So for me, I would say, of course, after we take on e7, the knight gives a check on f3, forks the king, and the next move is going to be knight takes d2, and it looks as if black should be fine with this.
Yes, and black actually has even a one, right? Won a pawn by taking on f3. So, yeah, that would be a big achievement. Yeah. But what's wrong with it? Well,
what is wrong with it? Yeah.
Yeah. The funny thing is, that black had forgotten about the move d takes e5.
Yeah, I'm just seeing it right now.
Which, it's really bizarre. It's the move you look at first, and it had been discarded here because of rook takes c7. But the problem is that now the d file has been opened, and there is rook takes d8, and white just wins the piece.
I'm sorry that I'm laughing. I'm so sorry. I did not, but this is so crazy because, yeah, of course, yeah, I know the situation too damn well myself. Do you calculate for a long time? You have this plan in your head, you go for it, and then you go like, how is this even possible to miss that? And of course,
and
yes.
Forgot to double check. Indeed, yeah, this is a remarkable position. Yeah, with all 4 rooks are hanging. I like these kind of motives, and
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, in the game, black decided to take on d2, and after rook takes e7, take the pawn on e5, which means that black has only 1 pawn for the piece. Enough reason to play on, but the result was never really in doubt.
But especially if you're 500 points stronger, then this is even more of a reason to go for it, right?
Yeah, true. Although white doesn't have too many weaknesses either. There are still a lot of pawns on the board. If black would be able to trade off all the pawns, then it's there are very good drawing chances. But still, with many pieces, white's task is actually not too difficult.
That's it. So, okay, so this is interesting. So if I may emphasize on this, please, and maybe for you at home, this is feeling kind of similar. If you have there are situations, it happens quite often, that you have a piece more. It's still a middle game. It's not an end game. You have a piece more, but you're playing against a higher rated opponent. So at least in my blitz games, I cannot tell you how many times I still was able to lose them. What can you give an advice on how to deal with a better position, with even a piece more, how to deal with a piece more against a stronger opponent?
Well, in general, the simplest advice I can give: trade off pieces. Particularly if your pieces are bad. If you can trade off bad pieces against good ones, that is good. But don't trade off pawns. That's a general mistake which has often been made. If too many pawns are being exchanged, it helps the weaker side to get closer to a draw. Because there are many positions in endgames, like your piece up, like you have 1 bishop, but there are no pawns on the board. You're unable to give checkmate with only 1 piece.
That is a good advice, actually. So can I please also, in this position, I just have to think about 1 move. Bishop takes e6. Is this insane? Or
yeah, there's absolutely no need of doing it. Like, well, I didn't check it myself. Is this really possible? Your idea is that you're going on a pawn hunt after this, right?
Yeah. So this is a thought I just have, because I'm winning 3 pawns, but I'm simplifying the game, and I'm not sure if this is the best idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would have even considered it. I felt there was no need of going for this line. It might be a possibility, because I understand that you're planning to get a lot of pawns. All these pawns are on the same rank, and they can be picked up like in a game of Pac-Man. It's a nice idea, but once again, I think a grandmaster would not consider it.
Good.
And just play it slow. Just don't look for your own chances, but try to reduce the amount of counterplay for the opponent.
Excellent. Yes, it's a good advice. Yeah.
All right. Then I didn't want to bother you with the rest of the game. It lasted much longer, and people can look it up themselves also if they want.
Exactly.
But the main game I wanted to share with you, that's something very exciting. So let's go there. It's the game from the Pro Chess League, game of Josephine Heinemann against Hikaru Nakamura.
Yeah, so some of you might have heard of the name already, Mr. Nakamura, quite a famous chess personality. Also, some of you might have heard of Josephine Heinemann, who's one of the just strongest female players in the German team, after all. So
right, yeah. Still, both very good players. Still, there's a difference of more than 400 rating points. But let's see what the upset is about in this game.
Yeah, I'm curious. I didn't check it. I just saw the Twitter post from Josephine herself. So
Yeah, exactly. So, well, it starts off with one e4, d6,
good choice.
d4. And now, well, there are many options, like black could go g6 or knight f6, leading to a Pirc defense. But Hikaru played a bizarre system, the move f5. It's actually, it has a name. I think it's called the Balog system, named after an Hungarian master. It looks a bit suspicious, as black is weakening its king. Like you should basically never push the f pawn in the opening. So it's a huge strategical concession from black. But the reason why black is going for this line is, well, Hikaru is playing against a much lower rated player, wants to avoid a lot of opening theory and just get a game from the get-go.
Huh. That's it's a good point you're making, because I'm thinking like some people might argue, is this arrogance? I don't think so. I don't think it is. It is to, as you say, to avoid the draw lines a bit, right?
Yeah, well, there are other ways to do it as well, but there's a very good chance that the white is not familiar with this particular line. So it's a kind of a surprising weapon just to get a game, and Hikaru is willing to accept that he gets an inferior position out of the opening, relying on his general skills to outplay the opponent later on. It's a kind of approach you often see stronger players using when they're playing against lower-rated opposition.
Sure.
And it actually worked out initially pretty well for black. So let's have a look. White decided to take on f5, bishop takes, and now bishop d3. Just trying to trade off these bishops. And black will not avoid that, but black rather sees that white captures on f5, which is going to happen in a couple of moves. Knight f3, knight f6. And now white decides to take on f5. Queen takes. White castles. And knight c6. So, well, this is still theory, apparently. There have been a number of games. Hikaru knows what he is doing. But, well, black's position looks a bit odd. That bishop on f8 cannot be developed yet. There's this hole on e6, which cannot be used by any of white's pieces yet. But white is playing indecisively here in the opening. Plays the move c3. There was no need playing this move, and in fact the knight can no longer be developed to that square later on. So black goes e5, active move, trying to free the path for the bishop. White decides to take. D takes e5, rook e1. Looks scary, right, with this king on e8. But black goes bishop d6.
And then, yeah, everything should be fine. Now it almost looks like a normal opening, although the queen is a bit...
Yeah, but the queen cannot really be attacked by any of white's pieces. There's no longer a light squared bishop. Queen is pretty active. And you may even argue that black is up in development, having already developed 3 minor pieces. And, well, white played the move h3, trying to probably cover the g4 square for some reason. But now look, black just castles queenside. And black is up in development once again, like nice rook on the open file.
Yeah,
and
discover.
Exactly, yeah. There are potential discovered attacks. Like if you get a chance to play bishop h2, then the queen could just be lost.
So you could almost say like Hikaru's opening choice worked out in quite well.
Definitely, it was nice, and it definitely caught Josefine by surprise. Queen e2. And now, ideally, if white had a chance, then you would like to bring the knight to e4, get a nice blockade, ensuring that this bishop on d6 will not become active. But look, black goes e4 himself here.
Yeah.
Very active move, forcing the white knight to go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Knight h2.
To d4 is not a good option because
could be considered. I'm not sure what's exactly wrong. Maybe there are ideas with queen e5.
Exactly. Yeah. That's not helpful.
Yeah, that actually could just backfire indeed.
Yeah.
So that's why the knight goes back to h2. If it comes under threat by queen e5 now, then the knight can still drop back to f1. And keep in mind that f1 square it will eventually be very useful for white.
Okay.
But we will get to see it in a different way. Let's have a look. Knight h2. Black goes knight e5. Very nice move. The knight is on its way to d3.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I wouldn't want to be white here, to be honest. Okay.
Actually, the position is getting quite depressive now for white, because black managed to install a knight in the opponent's position. It's called the octopus, like the knight working to all different sides of the board. It's basically paralyzing black. Sorry, the knight is basically paralyzing white's major pieces.
Oh god, and I see another terrible thing, because the rook actually, if you want to move the rook even, has only d1, because we already discovered that f1 is not very helpful. If the queen goes to e5, the knight cannot really go back to f1 anymore then.
That f1 square needs to be kept available for the knight once it comes under threat. Indeed. So yeah, black has a dream position. All the pieces are basically doing very well. Then it's time to attack. That's what Hikaru did. He brought up the kingside pawns.
Yeah.
Starting this kingside expansion. h5. And well, white is for choice here. White still got to develop that knight from b1. But if you go to d2, then you always got to reckon with the fact that the b2 pawn is hanging.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that is what white should do. White played here knight a3.
Oh wow! Yeah, I would have chosen d2. Would have given the pawn, and tried to get my rooks behind that. Yeah, but a3 I wouldn't have chosen. Wow.
Yeah, it looks weird, and black could have just decided to take on a3, ruining the pawn structure on the queen side. And well, these pawns are liabilities in the long run.
Yeah,
it's really bad. Maybe you're not going to win them immediately, but there's not much perspective here for white.
But black didn't take back.
Black didn't take that knight on a3. Black wanted to keep this bishop on the board, just to go for an attack against the white king.
Okay, so I get the idea of knight to a3 a little bit more, I have to say. So yeah, that would kind of force this trade maybe for a disadvantage. But if you're already in attacking mode, you don't want to
exactly. This is the difficult thing. Yeah, with its last move h5, black has already announced its attacking ideas.
Yes.
And then you're for a choice: play positionally or aggressively. Well, a lot of people want to continue playing aggressively, so g5, very understandable. But then the knight comes into c4, hitting the bishop. But look what's happening here. Black takes on h2, giving up that bishop for the knight. The knight was not a great piece, but still it was a kind of a defender trying to hold the king side together.
Okay.
And black continues with the plan of trying to open files.
Gosh, it looks still terrible, to be honest.
Yeah. So obviously you're not supposed to take, because that would open the h file. And with queen and rook, it will be checkmate in a few moves. So white's next move is very logical, h4, trying to keep it as much close as possible. Yeah.
But now g3?
G3 is actually a very nice attacking motive.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And was not played. If you take with a pawn, you could give a check with the knight on g4, but even stronger is queen g4.
Oh, that I didn't see. I thought about the knight check as well. Okay, I see. Yeah.
Well, the beautiful thing here, Arne, is that after a queen takes g4, you take with a knight.
Exactly.
Check, king goes away. And then, well, the knight is still defending the bishop. So taking on e3 yet, it's not good, but we have simple deflection and motive. There's the move b5.
Yeah, just kick the knight away and that's it. It's so evil.
Yeah. Probably white could have put up some more resistance, but this was a very tempting idea. But the move Hikaru played is also very understandable. He instead brings the knight to the center, knight e5, king g1 back, trying to bring the king to a safer place. a6 played, well, not sure it was really needed. On the other hand, you never want to leave that pawn on on a7. Maybe white could have considered taking it at some point, but it also shows that white is kind of running out of moves here. There's not much white can do, and that's all because of that knight on d3.
Yeah, that's a real octopus, as you mentioned already.
Yeah. Let's have a look. White played rook d2. Black continues with rook g8, rook ad1. And now, well, basically, black goes for this move g3. Very sharp move, continuing its original plan of trying to open files, but it's not a good move. The reason is that white can play f3 now. And that gives white a chance to undermine that pawn on e4, which is very important, supporting the knight on d3.
That is so difficult. You have to calculate so many things, and then you just take out. I didn't see it as very logical, to be honest. F3. That's a strong commitment.
It's getting really sharp now, and the move g3. It's a mistake, but it's based on a miscalculation of Hikaru in a couple of moves. He probably thought at this point that this pawn on g3 is actually going to be very helpful in the upcoming mating attack. So
yeah, the queen tries to get the pawn on h4 easily, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you go queen f6. That's the move. And then it could just be made in a few moves.
Yeah. But something went wrong.
Yes.
Bishop g5?
Bishop g5. And now you could think, well, this is an easy move, of course.
Yeah.
White had seen it, but Nakamura also saw this possibility. It's not that he blundered the exchange here. He consciously allowed it with the idea to take on g5.
Exactly.
H takes g5 and then queen takes g5.
Yeah, it looks good for me too.
Looks still good. And well, if you get a chance, then the queen is very near the white king, and because of these major pieces in the center, it will not be easy at all for the king to escape.
I think I know what's happening. Can I make a guess?
Yeah.
Because now it's that white has a piece more. Now it's the time to get rid of this octopus.
A rook takes d3 straight away here.
Yeah.
That's possible, but there's no need yet. In fact, there's a simpler way. By taking on e4.
Just taking
you take
on
the
e4
pawn
first, okay.
And, well, the octopus is now hanging. And queen h4 cannot be played. Because the white queen covers that square.
I hate it when the octopus is just hanging.
That's a pity. And I'm pretty sure that Hikaru still calculated up to here.
The queen.
Because he played here the move knight from d3 to f4.
Okay.
The octopus is gone, but we are still ready to get queen h4, queen h2. How would you defend here as white? And that's a big question for the viewers, of course.
It's a big question, my goodness. Yeah.
How to deal with the mating threat of queen h4, queen h2.
Okay, so
had Hikaru seen it, then he would not have gone for this particular line, of course.
What to do here? Okay, I will make a wild guess. Knight to e3.
Fantastic.
Ha!
Fantastic. So, first of all, the knight can, of course, not be taken because of rook takes d8. Black will be forced to give up the queen for the rook, and then the knights are hanging.
That'll do.
Very nice. But what about queen h4, which was played by Hikaru?
Yeah, and that I forgot about it already again, but you mentioned it earlier already. So if you at home noticed it, it's the knight going back all the way again to f1, and nothing can happen. That must be such a shock.
Exactly. The mating threat has been covered. The queen is actually out of play. There are no alternative threats, and well, black is just lost. The game lasted a few more moves, but white is an exchange up. Black played c6.
Now it's c4, right?
Yeah. And now c4, attacking the knight. If the knight moves, then the rook is hanging.
Oh, this shock.
It's really bizarre. We had this dream position as black, but with stubborn defense, white is holding on herself.
Yes, great defensive move by Josephine.
Yes, rook d7, and now we take the knight. White is a rook up. Rook e7, trying to create some sort of counterplay, but it's leading nowhere. We can just move the queen with check, king b8, take the pawn so that white is going to take over and look for an attack herself. And of course, very important is that the only check on e2 is not dangerous at all. We can give back some part of the material. Instead of being a rook up, being a knight up against Hikaru is not something you get the chance for every day. So yeah, this looks great. There followed a few more checks. The king run away, c7, discovered check, and after king a7, well, there are various moves.
Oh, you could actually get a knight almost, right? If you want to be really...
I was even considering it, but why not just get a queen? You're a queen up now, and
yeah, that's true. That's true.
And well, mate is inevitable. And look, this entire mating attack just backfired for black.
Oh, this is poor. I mean, I feel for Nakamura, of course, because but this can happen, as you mentioned it already. This is just a thing which can happen.
Even the best online players in the world, they make these mistakes. Sometimes they have these miscalculations, and I think it also shows that even in bad positions, just try to be stubborn, try to find good defensive ideas, make it difficult for your opponent, and when you're in a bad position, it doesn't mean you're lost yet.
That was so much fun. I cannot wait for the next show. It will take a little bit of time because we're trying to do this on a monthly basis, but you're really a great coach and explaining things very, very well. So it's nice and entertaining to do this with you. For you at home, I want to see who you won against. What was your biggest upset? Write it into the YouTube comments. I'm very curious about it. My biggest upset was only a simultaneous match against the Grandmaster, but that was a difference of 1,000 ELO points after all, so I'm quite proud of it. I was very young. But still, I think it counts a little bit. And yeah, so hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you, Robert, for... although you had a little bit of throat problems, that you still stuck up for it. It was worth it, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Arne. It was a lot of fun doing it with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you.